This episode is brought to you by Geno's East of Chicago in Los Angeles. Founded in Chicago in 1966, now over 5 years in Los Angeles, in Sherman Oaks, they use the same recipes and ingredients they do in Chicago. It's like taking a trip to the Windy City without the cold weather. Get the authentic Chicago deep dish and thin crust tavern style pizza, or the great Italian beef and Italian beef Italian sausage combo sandwiches. Plus, there's 12 screens showing Chicago and LA sports. Have a genuine Chicago dog with all the toppings as you watch the Cubs, Sox, Dodgers, and Angels. No ketchup. Now available year-round. Check out the menu at genoseast.com. Lunch specials Monday through Friday until 2 p.m. Happy hour features selected wines and beers for $5 and $6 for food. Monday through Thursday, 3 to 6 p.m. Geno's East. Great food, great atmosphere, and great people. Sit back and relax. It's time for peanuts, popcorn, and Cracker Jacks. Hey, how's it going? I'm your host, Jeff Santo, and I'm here with my wife, Christy.
Hello, hello.
Summer's here. Cubs are in first place.
Woo-hoo-hoo.
Pretty good so far.
I almost don't want to talk about it and jinx it.
Right? And also, I was thinking about the summer because we lost a Beach Boy, the most famous one, Brian Wilson. And I got to tell you, I love them. I sat in Chicago in the winter listening to the Beach Boys going, oh,
dreaming of California?
Yeah, dreaming of my California girl. And I always thought about California like, wow, wouldn't it be great to be out there? They swim in the ocean in the wintertime.
No, that's not true.
I know that. I found that out when I came out here and actually lived in Venice and got nowhere near the ocean in the wintertime. It's cold as hell. So
Beach Boys was my first concert. At we went to the Circle Star Theater, and I went down and danced next to the stage. But it was that Circle Star. So Chicago had the same owner of that theater. It was called
the Mill Run Theater. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So the stage in the center turns.
Yeah.
And so everybody gets, great seats.
360 it goes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And also, I remember the Beach Boys when I graduated high school. I went with 3 friends. We drove my dad's caddy to Padre Island, and we listened to the Beach Boys like all through that vacation, and the Pet Sounds, and
So every time you hear that, it takes you back.
Oh yeah, it does. God Only Knows. Wouldn't It Be Nice? So many cool songs, and also another guy that when I was growing up, Sly and the Family Stone, he passed also. Mm-hmm. These legends are going. It's that period of time that born in my dad's era, your dad's era. It's sad. It's an era that's going away.
Let's reinvent it, right? Because I think at a certain age, if you just get sad at everyone dying, right, you're just going to be in perpetual sadness. And if you think about it more, it's not like, these people are your personal friends, but they capture a moment in time for you. So it's memories coming to you. Think of it as a happy thing. It's like, because everyone rallies around and shares things on social media, and you see images you haven't seen before or seen in a long time, videos or, different things coming up, people sharing memories, and then you're thinking about your own memories. So if you think about it more as a positive, as a celebration of somebody versus the sadness that they're gone, because it's not like they're leaving your life. And when you get to be a certain age, you're already sad enough because people who you're friends with start dying.
Yeah. No, I agree with that. That's well said. I guess I get a little sad because it reminds you of a time like you're growing older, right? And so when I'm looking at my age, 61, I'm like, oh, wow, man, he was a big part of my life. Like, you don't realize some of the people that were a big part of your life, of where you were at a time, what it meant to you, and that growth, that evolution, right? And so these people who have made a mark in society, you know, whether it's a rock and roller, an actor, who knows, baseball, you go poet, that hits you, author, it takes you back to like, God, this life, you know, is sacred, and stay in that positive mode and be the best you can be, you know, and life isn't over until it's over. Mm-hmm. So, but you know, that period of time had a lot of legends, man. Mm-hmm. You know, new music was coming out, just film, baseball, different time, you know, and as time goes by, things change, right? And you almost lose something that you loved, even in the change. Mm-hmm. But you have to change.
But time, it's all cyclical. It'll come back.
Yeah, I guess it'll
just be something new.
Yeah, there's just something very sacred, and it touches your soul when people that meant something to you and had either a certain sound or who knows. But
you know, the interesting thing, they say they die in threes. Mm-hmm. So I wonder what musician is next.
Oh, wow. Well, that seems a little negative.
But no, maybe it's not a negative. Maybe it's like, who's next on the top 100 or the top 3? You know?
All right, let's not get too cheery about this, okay? Because death is sadness, but then life forms from that, okay? I guess.
Exactly.
There you go, right? So today's podcast, we're going into the Clubhouse tapes.
Yes, so we're releasing a subscriber-only show that we did on our first season.
Yeah, and this is, the title I think is The Bleacher Bums, but it's Mike Murphy, who was an original Bleacher Bum, an OG, and he was there when it all formed. And boy, it was an anomaly. It really was.
I still want to go and sit in the bleacher seats. I know. We have this, maybe if not this summer, definitely next summer.
It won't be this summer, but next summer I will get you that, okay? I will get you that. But this, what they formed in the bleachers, I think starting in 1968 it formed, and maybe even, but Mike tells the story, and he was right there. And it became national news. It became a new fan in baseball. Mm-hmm. I mean, left fielders.
It opened the door for what is he called now? Bleacher Jeff? Isn't there
a Bleacher Jeff? What do you mean?
There's a guy out in left field. In the bleachers, and his name is Bleacher Jeff, and he's like a famous fan.
He was a fan back in the Bleacher Bum days.
He's
yeah, well, he's taken the bleacher thing, and maybe now they're calling him Bleacher because
I know. But if you didn't have the Bleacher Bums, would you have these famous?
Would you have Bleacher Jeff? I don't even know Bleacher Jeff. You're saying he's famous, okay, Bleacher Jeff. Bleacher Jeff. So, anyway. It was an anomaly, though. It became, even outfielders from other teams hated, left fielders especially, hated playing at Wrigley because they got on them. Didn't matter who it was, Pete Rose, Henry Aaron. Here come the Bleacher Bums, man. So can't wait for you to hear his story and how it formed and what they became. He's just a great storyteller, too. So, and then my crackerjack, I'm going to call my buddy Peter Nestos at Spiro's. His Deli, he said he's going to get the This Old Cub sandwich, and I want to call and see if it's on the sandwich, if it's on the Spiro's sandwich board. So we're going to give him a call, too, and then check in with his outlook on the Cubbies right now.
It's a fun episode. Enjoy.
Hans Christian Andersen said, "Where words fail, music speaks." At Joey's Song, we believe truer words were never spoken. Our mission at Joey's Song is to raise money to fund the desperately needed research to find treatments and cures for the devastating and intractable epilepsies that are robbing futures and taking lives. Between 50 and 65 million people worldwide have epilepsy, and 1/3 of those folks, approximately 20 million, cannot find relief from their seizures through any known treatments or surgery. Joey's Song is dedicated to and in the memory of Joey Gamal, who died in 2010, just shy of his 5th birthday after battling a rare form of epilepsy his entire life. Every year, Joey's Song brings together Rock and Roll Hall of Famers, Grammy and Emmy winners, and top 40 hitmakers for a series of one-of-a-kind concerts that have helped us be a part of over $1.75 million raised over the last decade. Artists from bands like Cheap Trick, The Bangles, The Go-Go's, Garbage, The Goo Goo Dolls, Toto, and countless others all help us give hope to the families fighting epilepsy today. To find out more about Joey's Song and stay up to date on our next one-of-a-kind show, visit joeysong.org and join our mailing list, or follow us on the social media channels of your choice. Thanks for your time, and thanks for supporting Joey's Song, and thanks for listening to Peanuts, Popcorn, and Cracker Jacks.
My guest today was a Bleacher Bum OG. For those who wonder what a Bleacher Bum is, I'll sum it up like this. I'll give it a log line. A band of dedicated Cub fans who brought a new ethos of fan participation to the game of baseball. They became national news in every baseball city in 1969. And it all started at a quiet Cubs game in 1967 when Wrigley had less than 800 people in attendance. And sitting in the left field bleachers were a handful of city slickers with their hair slicked back and a lone 16-year-old kid from LaGrange, Illinois, who was about to make history. Here it is. Hope you enjoy.
Murph, man, Mike Murphy. It's so cool to be talking with you, man. I mean, wow. Thank you for doing this, man.
Well, yeah, sure, of course, Matt. What else is a retired 72-year-old guy going to do?
Come on, man. You've done so much in your lifetime and seen so much. And you're an original OG Bleacher Bum.
Let me tell you how it started. The beauty of it, and we were called our actual handle. We like to go by was the original left field Bleacher Bum.
Wow.
That was our actual handle. And there were only about, in the beginning, 10 of us, and we really never had more than about 40 or 50 official members. Though we didn't have membership, really, we were just guys. So here's a quick background. The beauty of it is it grew organically. There was never, let's sit down and form a fucking club, Never.
Right.
Just what happened was, so as we all know, Leo took over in '66, and the team did not do well. They finished 10th, and they were drawing, 1,000, 2,000 people a game by September of '66. In fact, I was at a game in September of '66 where there were it was under 600 paid attendance. It was like 575. You can go through and that happened again. That was the end of '66. It was a couple under 1,000. So the first couple of weeks of '67, things were still not good. The 10th place team, and there wasn't much buzz. I used to so in '67, Jeff. So I was 16. So I'd take the train from downtown, from LaGrange, out in the suburbs. Take it down to Union Station. That was like 60 cents each way. I have $1.20. I'd get on the subway to walk to the State Street subway, 25 cents each way. So the total thing was 60 and 60, 25, 25, $1.70, and it was $1 to get in the bleachers. Might have been 60 cents but I think it was $1. So the point is, I lived a house in LaGrange with $2.60. I didn't have 10 cents to make a phone call, obviously no cell phone. I often look back, what would have happened if something happened? I had no money. I had the money to get on the CTA and get back to Union Station and then get on the outbound Burlington. Now it's Metra. So
that's quite a trek. I mean, that's quite a trek for a 16-year-old.
Yes. Oh, right. I was going down there at age in 8th grade. My parents, it was safe back then. 8th grade. I went out by myself.
Yeah. What made you do that? Though? What started that? What started that for you, Murph? Like, I just loved
I just loved the Cubs, and so my couple of 8th grade buddies would tell our parents, "Okay, great, go get it." Times are different there. I knew how to work all the CTAs, the routes. So anyway, here's where we are. So now it's like the first week or two of '67, and there's still maybe 2,000 going to a game, and so it's the weekend. And so I'm just going to school. It's April, 8th grade freshman year. So I would always sit out in the bleachers, and I'm out there, and there's at the most 12 people in the left field bleachers at game time. Now, I had been, and here's my hook. So since 3rd grade, I'd played in the grade school band and then in the high school band. And I was pretty good with the trumpet, which is also a cornet with the 3 valves on top. But if you can play that, you can play a bugle, right?
Right.
Same thing. So
Right.
I used to hear on when the Cubs would be in L.A., you'd hear there was some guy back in the 50s and said doo-doo-doo, and he'd play the doo-doo-doo-doo-doo, and they'd all yell charge. A real guy with a bugle. And now the organs do it, boom, boom, boom.
Yeah, of course.
But back, and I'd listen to, and you had the radio under your pillow. Then because the game wouldn't start till like 10 p.m. Chicago time, and you're supposed to be asleep because you're in 7th grade, And right. I said to myself, someday, so lo and behold, just about 8th grade, my mom and dad and I were at one of these, I guess you would call it a flea market or something, and some guy's selling like a beat up old bugle for like 50 cents, right? So, I don't know where I had 50 cents in my pocket, but I used to cut grass and make them, like we all did to try to earn a couple bucks. So I buy the stupid bugle, right? And I could do it. I could do all the bugle calls. So anyway, cool. So now it's the first home stand of 67. I'm out in the left field bleachers. There's no one there. It's cold as hell. There's about 12 guys, and they're all what I call city kids. I'm from the suburbs, right?
Right.
And the city kids are different from what I had ever seen. And back then they all had their hair sort of flicked back. They was like moving.
My
from
dad
the
was
greasers.
a city kid. Yeah. My dad was a city kid in Seattle, so same thing, greaser, a whole thing. Yeah, he came to Chicago as a greaser. Yeah.
Well, I know. Well, your dad in the early years had the fenders back on the hair, they called it, where you'd comb it back on each side. Fenders. Yeah. Anyway, I'm sitting there, and these like 5 or 6 guys in this one group, the city guys, they're having a blast. And they're a couple of years older than me. They're maybe like 17, 18. I'm about 14, 15, 16, whatever. And they're having fun, and they're yelling down to the way, "Hey, Whistler," because we're right there, 2 feet behind him. And Billy would look up, and wave to him, because so I had brought my bugle with me, Jeff, like a little bag, they called them a grip in the old days. Those little, like a carrier, if you're in the army, you bring your shaving equipment and a little hand. So they never ever checked. They never ever frisked or checked it, and they were just happy they're paying $1, at the gate.
Yes. No, well, it's only 12 guys. Come on in.
Well, the old joke. What time's the game start? Well, what time can you make it? So right. So I got the bugle in the bag, and I might have been out there once other time, and I'd seen these guys. And I'm thinking at home, then I'm remembering that bugle. I want to meet these guys. I want to hang with them, right? Because it's the only thing happening. But yet I'm intimidated because they're city guys, city kids. So I'm sitting about 20 feet over towards the foul pole from where they are by the 368 sign. There's no one there. So I don't know. I finally get my nerve up about the 3rd inning. Cubs got a couple men on. And I unzip the little bag, grip, whatever we used to call it, and I get my beat up bugle out, and I'm good though. I'm good. And I stood up, and I go, da-da-da-da-da-da, da-da-da-da-da-da, and these city guys, the 6 of them, we end up being the Bleacher Bums. You can see where I'm going, but we weren't yet.
I look over, awesome.
And the leader, Ronnie Grousel, who was sort of famous for many years.
Yeah, that's his name, Ryan? Yeah, Ryan. Okay, yeah.
Ronnie Grousel, yeah. He looked like Robert Mitchum, if you can picture the old movie star, a young Robert
Mitchum. Yeah, of course.
Handsome but sort of rough and tumble looking. He looked like Robert.
Didn't he have 69? Didn't he in 69? Didn't he have like a long hair though? Right?
Oh yeah. Well, he went from greaser to hippie, like in 1 month. In 67,
well, I didn't want to keep on track there. Keep going. I love this.
No,
yeah,
that's him. Sure, you got him. So I play this and it's echoing. There's no one there, like 2,000 people, right? And it echoes. The whole ballpark's echoing.
Oh my
God! These city kids, the 3 or 4 or 5 of them, they're looking over, and it turns out to be Ronnie Grousel, who becomes the president of the original left field Bleacher Bums. He comes out and says, "Come over here, sit with us." And I'll tell you what, it might have been the biggest thrill to this day of my life. the city kids wanted me to come over. Right?
It was like right then.
Yeah. Boom. I didn't want to like walk over and say, "Hey, you guys are cool. I'm from LaGrange. Can I sit with you?" They'd probably go, "Get the heck out of here!" Right. But now, hey, come on over here, sit with us. Well, as you know, then about within the next month, the Cubs 67, they start winning, and they start winning, and by like June, there's 40,000 people at a game from 2,000 for the last 10 years.
Wait. Oh, hold on a sec. Hold on a sec. So you're saying from the time you pulled out that bugle, there's six city guys up there, and they go, "Holy cow! Now you got the band together." You just by that bugle, you put a whole charge, and the Cubs turn around within 2 months. Now the stadium's packed.
Well, yeah.
Oh my!
So within a month or two, they start winning. You know, Fergie, everybody, they start winning and winning and winning. Well, pretty soon, the city of Chicago is going crazy over the Cubs. And before we know it, we got more and more people coming out, sitting around us, and we consider straight cool guys, you know. So pretty soon we had our own little group of about 10 or 20 people. Now, here's what happens. We become, all of a sudden, so we had one or two older people. By that, I mean they were like in their 30s. And we had a husband and wife from Morton Grove. And they would come to the games. And their names are Big Daddy and Ma Barker. Their real names were different. But so we nicknamed them. And what these two would do, they would get bed sheets, white bed sheets, and a can of blue spray paint. And every night, like Thursday night, Friday night, Saturday night, before they'd come out from the speaker, they would make bed sheet signs in their basement or out in their garage. And it would be things like pizza power, which would be when your dad would come up to bed.
Oh, wow.
Or send the beer man. Now, you have to understand, when you hold it up, 40,000 people can see it, right? Like pizza power. We'd hold that up when your dad would bed. And then everybody was laughing. And send the beer man, you know. There wasn't much. Nowadays it sounds so, I don't know, it's not stupid, but back then there was no creativity in America, you know?
No, dude, that no one's doing that stuff in ballparks. So let's just say, you're the first to do this. So right. So sometimes like it's hard, to talk a listener or viewer or someone now. Well, what's the big deal? Well, I always sort of say between people, like, if you weren't there, it's sort of hard to understand. It's hard to. Well, if you weren't there, you were there. Maybe if you don't think hard. I mean, think about it. I mean, they're doing a wave today still in L.A. I'm like, come on, talk about crazy. Okay. You guys were doing so much crazy stuff out there that it was like, holy cow! It was your own band.
Yeah. Oh, exactly. So here's the punchline, though. So Big Daddy and Bob Barker, probably early June of '67, they come out with their bed sheets, 40,000 people, and they had come up with this one on their own. And they took a big bed sheet and they cut a hole in the middle. And Ronnie Grousel would put his head through the hole, right? But written on it with their blue spray paint on the top, hit the, and then below his head, Bleacher Bum. They just made it up. They just came up with this phrase on their own. Hit the Bleacher Bum. And he'd put his head through it. And it was funny as hell because, what greater love, half a fan than to sacrifice himself for a home run in the face, right?
Oh, right. God.
So,
a big bullseye.
Yeah, well, his head it cut a hole in the middle. He put his head through it. He was the bullseye,
right?
In other words,
yeah, exactly.
And he'd wave. He'd have his hands out through the hole in his head. But then here's what happened: a photographer picked up. Okay, remember Wrigley Field? They used to have what was called the photographer's catwalk. It would be under the upper deck, along first base, and the WGN cameras were like on the third base.
Oh, wow.
Catwalk.
Yeah,
we're talking it hung underneath the upper deck. Sort of like where the old press box would be, but then it ended.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, now,
but the catwalk ramp continued So anyway, the photographers, Tribune, Sun-Times, Daily News, and back then the Today, Chicago Today, there were 4 papers. And one of the photographers snapped this picture of Hit the Bleacher Bum, right, with a zoom-R lens from first base overhang. And for some reason, this picture caught the fancy across the country. The old expression, we went coast to coast. The old expression, the AP picked it up. And the Cubs probably had like a winning streak going, and the whole country was, well, what's going on? These guys haven't been bums since 1945, when they won the World Series. Anyway, we find out that this picture not only ran front page, like on the Sun-Times or whichever paper the guy was with, but it ran all across the country. Papers picked this AP wire. Remember the AP wire photo, let's call them. So now we had a name. But see, we never tried to, the key is, we never sat around and said, hey, let's organize something. Hey, let's get a name. Hey, let's try to, no, we were just a bunch of guys that drinking beer, and watching the Cubs.
When you pulled it, so 67, you guys have basically 20 members?
Yeah. So, and we used to wear like beach, remember like Yosh Kawano's hat, that floppy hat that Yosh would wear? Yeah. Well, we all wore those, but not white, but they were like paisley, like sort of early psychedelic colors, goofy.
Of course.
But sort of the sailor hat motif, whatever. Now they call them bucket hats. Everybody in town media is telling their reporters or this and that, go get a story at Wrigley Field, because everyone wanted to read about the Cubs. So all of a sudden we're out there, right? And we're all drinking beer and we're having fun, and all of a sudden there'll be like someone says, excuse me, I'm from the Tribune. I go, yeah. I go, I'm the theater critic. We go, what? Yeah, I want to write a piece, and they'd write a piece about how we were like theater, like a play.
Yeah.
And then we'd look over and here's someone. She'd go, "Hi, excuse me, I'm from the Sun. I'm from the Daily News. I'm the food critic." What do the bums eat? Well, we have hot dogs and chips, And we got, the from the business department, business writers from the, Chicago Today, you guys, you're making money on this? Or, no. And well, how do you support yourself? Well, most of these guys don't work, or I cut grass, and I look, what? You cut grass. Okay. Now it's around 4th of July of 67. Now, if I say this to you, will you pick up on where I'm going? It was the famous Change the Flags game. The Cubs and Cardinals had been Friday, Saturday, Sunday. I think there was a doubleheader Sunday. It's 95 degrees. The game started at noon, right? The doubleheaders, remember?
Oh, wow. Yeah,
they would start at noon.
Yeah.
And, and the park always opened 3 hours before the game. Now it's an hour and a half across the United States.
Right.
MLB. So if you can picture at 9 a.m., and we've been there since 9 in the morning drinking, right? I'm 18 years old. Ain't nothing. Listen to this. They open the gates at 9 a.m. for the Sunday doubleheader scheduled for noon, right? And 3 hours before they open. At 9:01, when they open the gates, there's already 40,000 people standing at the ballpark trying to get in line.
Wow.
Now, people nowadays wouldn't get it because unless you actually had 81 game season tickets, there was no really much of an advance sale, and they would keep 22 Jack Brickhouse, 22,000 general admission seats available every day at Wrigley Field because Mr. Wrigley, God bless him, he wanted the quote-unquote average fan to always be able to walk up and get a ticket.
Yeah.
Not that the other 15,000 seats were sold. The park was usually empty.
Right. No, they weren't. Right. Yeah.
Right.
There weren't many season tickets back then.
No. So there's 40,000 people wrapped around the ballpark at 8:30 in the morning. At 9 a.m., they open the gates. And we're in at 9:01 through the bleachers there. we knew the guy, so we always jumped in front of the line. We always paid, But here,
Right.
So by like 9:30, okay, on a Sunday morning, the ballpark, there was not an empty chair. You could, from the bleachers that you can, every seat was taken at 9:30 in the morning.
That's never happened.
Some of those,
has it?
Yeah. So remember where the vendors, like stations, where they would get their beer?
Of course. Yeah.
Soda pop underneath. Yeah.
Yeah.
They would leave the concession, room with their rack full of stuff, right? Their rack of frosty malts, and they would never even get past the concourse.
That's crazy.
And they'd be sold out. Now listen to this. Not only it was standing room only. The stairs right in the grandstands, the stairwells up and down, up the road. Those up and down stairs, ramp stairs. People were sitting there. People were sitting, standing room only, seated on the stairs up and down the grandstands from foul pole to foul pole, where you'd walk up to your, row 12.
Did that ever happen again, though, Murph? Did that ever happen again? That many people there in the morning?
Yeah.
Oh, it did. So until they got a hang of it, that's what was happening until people knew, okay, maybe there's a different way to get tickets. Is that what it was? Or was kind of like the first time?
No, it was always first come, first serve.
So it was that way until the rest of the way of the season?
It was that way until, probably things fell down in the, 73, 74 when everything, finally died out.
You're talking about from 67, the Cubs then, because they did hit first place in 67, right, for a game?
Well, that's what we're leading up to, yeah. So the Cubs were like, let's say, a game and a half behind the Cardinals now on Sunday, right? And it's a doubleheader with the Cardinals. And the Cubs win both games, which means for the first time since 1945, at that moment, the Cubs had just gone into first place by a half game.
Wow.
Because they were, say, a game and a half back, doubleheader, they sweep. You're now a half game in front, right?
Right.
So here's what happened. So Ronnie Grousel, everyone's going crazy. Cubs win, we're in first place. And Ron Grousel, that's when those guys up on the scoreboard, they wanted to get the hell home, right? They've been up there since who knows when. And there's the one guy that's got to, pull the chain, the pulley system that brings the flags, the standings up and down on the left and the right. Yard arm is the actual technical word, up and down the yard arm. And so they've already taken the flags down. And Ron Grousel says, hey, we want to see, he's yelling out, we want the Cub flag up on top. I got to see it. So we start chanting. Listen to this. So we start chanting to 40, 50 of us, change the flags. Change the... Well, pretty soon, you've never heard anything like it. 40,000 people. It spread around, sort of like the wave you're talking about, but not a physical wave. Like an audio wave.
Right. Yeah.
You hear the people, what are they yelling? Oh, yeah. So pretty soon it was 40,000 change the flag. Well, as the legend goes, the guy, Roman Cherna Cherma, maybe you knew him, and all those old ground crew guys, we knew them all. Well, he had already taken the flags down, scooted down the little ladder under the scoreboard, and locked up the hatch on the bottom.
Okay.
Like when you're leaving, the scoreboard.
Yeah.
So no one would leave. No one would leave. And someone in management or the head of the grounds crew, Mark Antonio, who knows who, said, hey, Roman, get back up there. No one will leave. He said, oh, shit, I got to go back. I'm going home. So they walk all the way back, up that little sort of stair, those little the metal stairs that hang down from the big scoreboard, unlock it with the padlock, go back up there, and he just ran up to the Cubs flag. He didn't put all 10 up in order.
Of course.
Just flying up there in the upper left. And this picture is still, I'm sure, with a little Google searching, like front page of all the papers the next morning, And so that was a change the flag, which
dude, that's a great story. Seriously, maybe I heard that when I was younger, but I got to tell you, I didn't hear it like that. Dude, that's amazing. I had no idea how all that transpired. And man, I didn't even know, like, literally,
you got 7 guys in the bleachers early in that season. You pull out the Bugle.
Yeah.
I mean, that's just a beautiful story. Wow. Wow. And where do you go from here now? After that, what? Give me the 69. Quick. Give me the So give me till. Go ahead.
Okay. So of course this sounds mundane nowadays, but starting in '67, we would rent a big coach bus with the bathroom, and go to St. Louis for the weekend. We'd stay at the Chase Park Plaza, the Cubs Hotel, 50 of us, and we didn't have a penny to our name. We go to the team hotels were always beautiful. I don't know if you ever
at any
of those.
Yeah,
the Netherlands Hilton in Cincinnati. Beautiful.
Right. Yeah,
and we'd be there with cut off shorts and no money and long hair. We'd get like the only 2 guys in our group that looked presentable. One was like a school teacher, so he always had to have short hair, and they'd go and they'd get 2 rooms, like at the Chase Park Hotel, and we'd end up then putting 25 guys in each room then, each night sleeping on the floor. And,
wow.
The safest place to sleep was in the bathtub, because everyone was just sleeping on the floor, drunk, like 2 a.m. after we've been down in the bar with the guys, players all night. And so if you just laid on the floor, a drunk would step on you, trip on you. So the safest one was always in the bathtub, because except of course then about 7 a.m, someone would blast you with the scalding hot water on you.
Oh yeah.
On the shower.
Wow, man! So you guys were actually then starting to know the players personally at that time.
Oh, I mean, we were really just a few years younger than most of them when you think about it.
Right. Yeah.
I was the youngest of the Bleacher Bums. So I was born in '51. So in '69,
you must have had your ass protected all the time. You're the Bugle boy. You got everything. So they're like, all right, we got Merv governed here. Don't touch Merv.
Oh yeah.
And you're the youngest. The other guys were. That's awesome.
And I'm like the only suburbanite too. They're mostly city kids, rough and tumble.
Did you give that up? When did you give up the suburban identity? Did you give that up?
Oh no, they make fun of me. No, I didn't really try to hide it.
Right.
It would have been just the first day I wanted to meet him. I figured I better not tell him where.
Of course.
Yeah, of course. But we'd be in the hotel saloon, and I remember one time Leo came by in '67. Again, beers were like a quarter, don't forget, but we had no money, nothing. And Leo sees us in the beautiful steeplechase lounge at the Chase Park Plaza in St. Louis, highfalutin. And we're sitting there, and he walks in, and he looks at us. There's about 10 of us at a table there. He goes, Bleacher Bums. Leo, he goes, tonight the bums drink on me. And he pulled out a $20 bill. Yeah, and he pulled out a $20 bill and threw it down on our table, which now $20. No, that was like, $200, and the beers were a quarter, We drank.
Dude, come on.
The bums drink on me. Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Dude, that's a movie moment. That is so cool, because for people that don't really know who Leo is, like, what a star Leo was, though, at that time. I mean, literally, he was on Monsters. He was on all those TV shows.
Oh, my God.
Probably
he was big
one of the most famous guys in baseball.
Yeah. Oh, sure, because he was the New York Giants and Brooklyn Dodgers manager before baseball expanded to California. The New York Giants became, obviously, San Francisco, and the Brooklyn Dodgers, L.A. And then he was a coach in it with L.A. when they moved out. And like you say, he'd be in like Mr. Ed and the Rifleman, and he'd pop up.
Yeah, right. And the Addams Family and the Monsters. And he also, he also played for the Gas House Gang, right, with St. Louis in the 30s.
Sure.
So
Dizzy Dean and Pepper Martin.
Yeah. Take me to 68 because I want to get to 69. So 68, you guys are there in the summer, same routine.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Things keep rolling. And August 18th of 69 was Kenny Holzman no-hitter. And the Cubs beat the Braves 3-0 on a Ron Santo first inning 3-run homer. And that was like the apex, because that put the Cubs, I want to say, 8.5 games up on the second place it wasn't even the Mets. I think it was the Cardinals still. On August 18th, Holtzman's no-hitter, and the Cubs had an 8.5-game lead over the second place team.
That's amazing. But I'm going to revert. I'm going to take you back to the beginning of the season, and I want to just as you as a bleacher bum, because what I remember as a kid. Did you remember seeing me and Ronnie out there?
Sure, on the field all the time. Of course,
all the time, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
And so, you guys were starting to really to me. I just remembered the obviously your bugle, so you were the bugle guy, and then obviously the megaphone was who had the megaphone?
Groundsel, president.
Yeah. And that stuff, the chants that you came up with, tell me about how that all started. You guys had chants for the visiting team when you get on them. When did you guys start putting all those chants together? They were like little songs that
they
worked for us. Yeah.
They were. Well, and one thing we were proud of, we never swore. We never used
okay, that's good enough.
Swear words. But our goal was to get the other left fielder, center fielder, get them so worked up and mad at us that, we were helping the Cubs because we're distracting them, So sometimes someone would find out there. So, hey, Lou Brock's, Brock's afraid of mice. What? Yeah, Brock's afraid of mice. Look what I got here. What do you got? Because my buddy works at a laboratory where they have the white laboratory mice for experimental God knows what, right? Yeah. He had 12 white mice in a box, live. I know what it was. I think Fergie told us that Brock was afraid of mice. He was in on it, Fergie.
Oh, God.
Brock. So in the last row of the bleachers right there, right, which is not far from the front wall, as you know, right there.
Yeah.
4 or 5 rows by the curve of the well. And so on the count of 3, so like a hand grenade, like you sort of lob it up in the air, and this right there in the game. 1, 2, 3, 4. And if you look up in the sky, there was like 12 mice, and now they're falling down, and they land all around Lou Brock, right? And they hit the beautiful spongy grass, and they bounce up in the air. A couple of feet. It was the weirdest thing I've ever seen. None of them got hurt. There were no horses hurt in the filming of this movie.
Right, sure. Yeah.
But here, so they're literally running around Lou Brock's feet, right, during the game. Well, either Fergie has some bad information or something, because Lou Brock didn't bother him. He turns around and laughing and waving at us and running around. Well, Billy Williams that day was in center field or right field because Willie Smith was in left field for the Cubs. So the inning ends, Brock goes back in. These 12 little white mice were sort of running around in circles, banging into each other by where the left fielder would stand. But listen to this. So one problem no one factored in. The Cubs left fielder, Willie Smith, was terrified of mice. He's running out, and he's like dancing, he's jumping like in the movie, like a lady jumps up on the table,
Right, yeah, totally.
And he runs over to the bullpen, and they're giving him, they're laughing. I mean, they never laughed so hard.
That's hilarious.
Well, now the grounds was the best part, and so the game's delayed, right? I've often wondered what was Jack Burkhouse saying, because now here comes 2 or 3 grounds crew guys with cardboard boxes, and they're chasing around. There's 12 mice trying to catch them barehanded and throw them into boxes and get them off the field.
That
was one of our better pranks, even though it backfired.
That's great. And 69, when the Cubs, so they obviously out of the gates, they're in first place all the way to July.
Yeah. You want to hear so the Holtzman's no-hitter. So the wind's blowing in, straight in down Kenmore Avenue in, right? Straight in from Evanston, straight in. And I don't know what they would measure it at, like 15, 18, but it was like coming in about 25, 30 miles an hour most of the day, straight in. And it's about 90 degrees. And the wind's blowing in. Your dad hit the 3-run homer in the first inning. It was the only way you could hit a ball out. It was a low liner, sort of right down the left field foul line, onto that sort of, not in the bleachers, but it landed on that catwalk, as you call it.
On that catwalk rampway, yeah.
between the left field foul pole and where the seating actually begins, where we would sit, to the curve of the well.
Yeah.
He hit a low liner. So obviously 2 men were on. It was either Kessinger, Beckett, or Kessinger, Williams, or Beckett, Beckett, and Williams. 2 on, hit the 3-run homer, batting in the 4 hole. Then, so the game goes on and on. Now it's like this. It's the 8th inning, and Hank Aaron's up. And there's no one on base. It would have been a perfect game, but Holtzman walked someone, I want to say, in the 1st inning. Anyway, but the no-hitter, everyone's jacked up. At the 8th inning, we were up 7.5 games in first place. Everything is going great, right? And now we're watching first no-hitter any of us have ever seen, right? The last one was Sam Jones. Said Sam Jones, Toothpick Jones in 1955. So all of a sudden, now I'm in left field. I'm actually standing behind the left field bleachers. There's a big aisle there, where you walk back and forth with the fenders. So, and I was standing there. In other words, my back was up against a chain link fence, right?
Wow,
near the curve of the well. The back fence there, the chain link.
Yep.
And Aaron hits the ball. Now remember the wind, okay? The wind's going. Aaron hits the ball. If you golf, it was like a 9-iron shot, right? Straight up in the air. But he hits the piss out of it.
Right.
And no lie. Now listen to this. At one point, and we all were, that's gone, man. At one point, and the ball was higher than the height of the foul pole, left field foul pole, how high that is, right?
Wow.
The ball that Aaron hit was higher than that. And it was over like where the curve of the well would be right there. And I'm standing there in the last row, and I'm looking up, and Jeff, the ball is still higher than the foul ball, but it's behind me. In other words, it's over.
Are you? Oh, my.
It's over.
You can see the ball.
No,
you can see the ball.
Oh, it's over my head. It's behind me. It's over Waveland Avenue. And then the wind catches it and brings it and brings it. And if you've ever seen the tape, it's out there. Billy Williams,
I have never
got
seen
his
it.
back.
I saw the plate. I saw his play. I can't see that angle you're talking about. So we don't know that it actually comes
I'm behind
back.
him. We can't see
totally.
We can't see him because he's by the wall.
That's amazing. Okay,
look, it's coming back. It's coming back. And now the crowd goes nuts, and then we see like the second base umpire put his fist up in the air, out. It's the only way we knew it was caught. Then when I've seen the films of it, which are out there, well, if you're at home plate, you can see Billy Williams, number 26, catch the ball. In other words, when Billy caught the ball was coming back to him. So like a Willie Mays. In other words, Billy he was hugging the curve of the wall, heading along the wall as he's heading towards the foul pole, tracking the ball, but his back is to the infield, if that makes sense. Like that passenger could have seen Billy's number 26.
Right. He's looking at it.
And the ball's coming back to Billy, in other words. And
my
God. How he didn't give up on it, is unbelievable.
First of all, you're witnessing a no-hitter, and Henry Aaron being the player that's going to break it. Yeah. I mean, just think just Henry Aaron alone is telling that story is amazing.
Oh, yeah. It would have been a solo homer. They would have still been up 3-1, but that's not the point. Yeah. We wanted to see a no-hitter. So the only time I ever ran on the field was after the no-hitter. So you ever try to go from the bleachers?
Was that the picture I got? Is that the picture of everyone running on the field? Was that after the no-hitter?
I believe. Well, it would have been. That's probably one of them, but because it didn't happen often. People didn't run on the field willy-nilly back then. Yeah. So everyone, I was running trying to get to Holtzman. You're going to love this. And by then there was people coming out of the box seats and everything. So, we had no chance running, 300 feet to get to Holtzman. And there's people jumping over the dugouts, the right there.
Right.
So I get to about halfway towards like maybe the infield dirt, right? Shorts. And I see I can't get there. And I look over and there's number 10 and he's looking right at me.
Come on.
And you know what, Ron? Yeah. And he's heading towards the locker room, right? And there's people everywhere. And you know what he and I did?
What?
We both ran and did his famous leg kick, his kick.
No way.
When he would Yeah.
You got eye contact with my dad, then you went and followed his click of the heels. That is so...
Of course. Yeah.
So you say you knew him well then. So you got to know him over the first 2 years, just going on the road and stuff, right? Tell me about that.
Well, here's the thing. So I knew your dad in 1961. My father, Phil Murphy, in LaGrange Park Little League, was the president of the LaGrange Park Little League. And in 1961, your dad was second-year guy. And every year, the LaGrange Park Little League would pay either a Cubs or a Sox player to speak at the winter banquet. Okay. And we were like half Cubs, half Sox, because the western suburbs there were not really north or south,
Yeah.
So every other year they'd have to rotate. We got Sherman Lawler of the White Sox last year. We get the Cubs this year, because all those guys, like they lived 12 months a year in the Chicago area. You know that.
Yeah.
No one had money to have a second home or nothing.
No.
Sherman Lawler, the White Sox catcher, he lived a couple blocks down from me in LaGrange. George Blanda, the great Bears. So my dad knew my favorite player was, number 10. So I don't know how he probably called Wrigley Field in the wintertime and said, I need it done. So somehow they hooked it up and we hired Ron. So it was at a country club in LaGrange. It's gone now, Acacia Country Club, and that's they rented the room, and there'd be like 100 little leaguers, and you get the food, the whole deal, awards, trophy, the whole shot.
And my dad's only 21 then, right? He's 61, you said, right? That's 1960, so his second season, his first full season.
Exactly,
crazy,
exactly.
Wow.
And I'm like little league, so I'm like 10 or 9 or 10. Well, I was born in 51, so I was 10.
Yeah.
But here was the greatest thing, because my dad was the president. So, my dad says, okay, Mr. Santos is going to get to the country club, around 6:30, and the festivities would start at 7 or whatever. He says, but he didn't tell me anything else. So we drive there, and we go into like the manager's office of the country club, right? And a minute later, here comes Ron. And my dad goes, I'm Phil Murphy from the country. Oh, thank you, Phil. This is so great. Because let's be honest, I don't know what they paid. Probably got like $100, which was gold. It was like finding $100 on the floor, right?
Right. Yeah. Totally.
Maybe 200, but I mean, different money, different day. But that's a lot of money back then to drive out from Park Ridge or wherever you guys were living and
exactly
for a while.
Exactly.
But
dude, that's so great.
And this is my son Mike. I go, hi Ron. And, we know this. He's nice standing with his arm around me. Then when the whole thing was over, they had to give him the check or whatever, and I was back in there, so I got to meet him again. So here's what happened. So for the rest of time, when I would go to, when I was little, I'd go to get the grandstand seat with my mom or dad. I'd always, sneak. You'd run down before the game. The Andy Frames wouldn't stop you, and I'd run down by the dugout and I'd try to get some autographs, like we all did probably or whatever. And every time then number 10 would be like by me, I would always yell the same thing. Hey, Ron, Mike Murphy from the LaGrange Park Little League. And he'd always go over, and he'd come over, and he'd always talk to me, and people, how do you know him? I would go way back.
That's great.
So that was forever. LaGrange Park.
Dude, thank you for telling me that, man. That's cool, man. That's awesome, man.
Isn't that cool?
Wow.
Well, then, of course, by the time we got the Bleacher Bums and we're taking bus trips, and sometimes they'd come over to Ray's Bleacher Bar, which is called Murphy's now, a different owner. No relation to me, no.
Yeah, so what was that like? You guys, they would come in actually after a game and sit with you guys at the bar?
Sometimes. Not often.
Sometimes.
But,
I know. Yeah, but a few times they did that. Yeah, a few times.
Oh, yeah. And on the road trips, we'd be in the hotel, and they'd always, hang with us. And again, a lot of our guys were, almost the same age,
no doubt.
Check out a collection of movies by Santo Films now streaming. This Old Cub, the critically acclaimed documentary about Ron Santo and his Hall of Fame career while battling type 1 diabetes, in a time when diabetes was unknown to most. It is available on Tubi, iTunes, and Amazon. Jake's Corner, a family drama starring Richard Tyson, Diane Ladd, and Danny Trejo. And Liar's Poker, a whodunit featuring Flea from the Red Hot Chili Peppers. Then there's Dead in 5 Heartbeats, an off-the-grid motorcycle club film with real motorcycle clubs produced by Sonny Barger Productions and Santo Films. All films were written, produced, and directed by Jeff Santo. Watch now on Tubi, iTunes, and Amazon.
Crackerjack.
Spiro, can I help you?
This call is being recorded.
Hey, can I order This Old Cub sandwich?
I'm sorry, what?
This Old Cub. It's a summer special.
Okay, what is the sandwich, man?
It's called the This Old Cub sandwich. Peter said he's got a This Old Cub sandwich.
Honestly, I don't know what you're talking about, but what kind of sandwich you're looking for?
Well, wait a second. Now, is Peter there?
No, Peter's not here right now, my man.
Oh man. Well, tell him that Jeff Santo is on the phone for him, and I'm trying to order This Old Cub sandwich. It's not on the board?
No.
He didn't. You don't see, like, you look up at the sandwich board, doesn't say special this summer, This Old Cub sandwich?
No, my friend.
Oh man, who am I talking with?
I'm Rodolfo, buddy.
Hey man, how you doing?
Very good, very good.
Very good. All right, man. Boy, I could go for a bomber, I'm telling you that, man, but I live in Los Angeles. But I did want to get the special for a friend out there, and Peter said it's going to be the summer special sandwich of the summer. That might sound a little redundant, but you know what I mean.
Okay, so, I don't know what I can offer you, but come to the store, man, and we're talking about it. Thank you so much. Have a good day.
This call is being recorded.
Jackie!
Jackass, what are you doing?
You're my crackerjack again.
What's up?
Hey, where are you, man? I just called the restaurant, and I asked to I'd like to order This Old Cub sandwich. Not even on the board. I have no idea what's going on.
No, when we move to the new location, I'm putting it on.
Oh, come on, man. I thought it was going to be a summer special.
Well, the project's been delayed. We're hopefully by the end of October, it's looking like. So we'll be ready for the playoffs. What do you think?
Be ready for the playoffs end of October. It's ready for the World Series. You're a little bit too excited right now, my friend. You're going to pass up the whole baseball season with This Old Cub sandwich?
Well, we're going to put it on as soon as we put to the new location, entering new items on the menu. Stay tuned.
Happy Father's Day, my friend.
Thank
First
you, buddy.
of all, I was calling you, and I did talk to your guy over at Spiro's. What's his name?
Adolfo.
He didn't know of the sandwich. I said I'd like to order This Old Cub sandwich. He had no idea, so he's very confused about that.
Confused him.
Please tell him that he's going to be on the Crackerjack show.
Oh my God, he can't wait.
Okay. Are you out watching the boys right now?
Yeah, we're in between games. Michael's at Notre Dame, and I'm up in Wisconsin.
You're in Wisconsin? Oh, yeah. Wow.
Yeah, 71.
For Tommy?
Yep.
Okay.
71
all right.
Tournament. Yeah.
All right, good, man. Well, you enjoying Father's Day?
Yeah, every day's a good day, Jeffrey. Every day's a good day. All right, let's talk some baseball.
You really think they're going to be there in late October?
Well, what do you think? I've been right on my prediction so far. One of the best
you have.
in baseball, right?
Yeah.
90 wins.
Uh-huh.
We're on track, right? My MVP candidate looking good, right?
Well,
we're down 2 pitchers, and we're still doing well.
I know. That's very true. Very true. I'm loving the team. I got to tell you, they haven't hit a slump yet as far as like losing a lot in a row, but they haven't won a lot in a row, but they've won a lot of series, and that's how you win.
Series, and that's how you win. That's how you make the playoffs. And then once you get to the playoffs, anything can happen.
Yeah, it's tough. It's tough when you get there. But I'm hoping, man. Yeah, this team's looking good. They can run. They can hit. So tell me, what are we missing?
Well, you know, in the playoffs, pitching wins championships. We really don't have a number one right now. You know, so it all depends on Hoyer, what he plans on doing for the trade deadline.
You don't think Shota's a number one?
I don't think he's a number one. I think he's a 1B, but not a 1A.
Okay.
And you know,
so you want to?
How about Tyon? What a great job he's been doing.
Oh my God, yeah.
We're one starter away, I think. One starter away.
Yeah, but what kind of? You're not going to get a one. I mean, is this a new thing? 1A, 1B. Did you make that up? Is that what they go on?
I just made it up. How's that?
You did. Yeah. That's Jackie's little system. Okay.
Yeah, this is Jackass's system, but correct.
All right. One. So are we? How do you get in? How do you get it? What do you give up to get a 1A? We're not going to get a 1A.
No, we're not. And I mean, who's going to be available? That's the thing. You got to hope for, maybe Atlanta falling out of it, Seattle, and maybe pick somebody off. But other than that, it's too hard. It's too hard. And it would cost us too much, to get a quality starter like that. And how about our manager? He's done a great job. You've been critical of him. We both have been critical of him. And
I was critical of him last year, but again, I think he's calming down a little bit on letting them play and not taking the ball out of the starter's hand too quickly. Also is key. I think that's key, man, for any team.
Well, look at the pitchers though. They're going 6 innings. You know what I mean? And then he has that quality bullpen behind him. I mean, look at Brown. Brown's done a nice job, right? Tyon, Shota's been hurt, but I mean, our starters have been giving us chances. They're keeping us in ball games, I mean, one of the best finds is Keller. Keller used to be a starter. How many starts? I don't know how many major league starts he has, between Kansas City. I mean, what a great pickup. Hoyer really did a nice job putting this roster together. Yeah, and now we'll see what he does. He's got money to spend before the trading deadline, and we'll have some pieces.
Yeah. Do we stay in first all the way through? Do you see us taking this thing? Yeah. Okay, good, man. Good. You've been on. I'm giving it to you, but you're saying late in October, not until the This Old Cub sandwich. If it's not here by playoff time, are you going to be in your new joint, right?
Well, we're hoping. We're supposed to start construction this week, so we'll see what happens.
Okay. All right, man. Congratulations.
Yeah.
Happy Father's Day, brother. You are one of the most wonderful fathers out there.
Oh, thank you.
Your kids are lucky kids. I don't know about a husband. I don't know about a husband with Sarah, but just let me finish. but definitely the father. Okay, Sarah has to answer that part. But yeah, the boys are doing great, right, in baseball. And Mary Catherine, she's at home for summer, right?
Yeah. Everybody's doing great. Like I said, Michael's at Notre Dame right now, playing in a tournament, and we're up here in Wisconsin.
Right on, man.
Well, everything's great. Everything's great.
All right, send me some videos.
All right, all the fathers out there.
Yes, you got that, pal. All right, Jackie, and tell your guy at Spiro's Adolfo. It's Adolfo.
Rudy.
Rudy. All right.
Yeah.
Tell Rudy. Sorry if I caught him off guard, but I thought the sandwich was on the board.
Yeah,
okay?
You threw it for a loop.
Blame it on you.
I'll take the blame.
Get back into work. I was busy in there. All right.
I better get there. Talk to you, buddy. Say hello to everybody.
All right. Bye, bud. See you.
Bye,
love you, bud.
Bye.
Hey, thanks for listening to our show. Special thanks to our cool crackerjacks, which, by the way, if we can get more cool crackerjacks, that would be amazing.
Cool crackerjacks. We want more cool crackerjacks.
It is so cool that we have supporters of this show because it really does help make things possible for us to do this podcast.
I get to buy a Slurpee every Saturday.
No, we get to function as a podcast.
Yes. Okay.
So our cool crackerjacks are Scott Nelson, Jim McCauley, Debbie Foley, Sherry Matarisi, Terry O'Brien, Gary Tallman, Anne-Marie Piscule, Jill Muleschlegel, and Mac McPhillamy.
This show is made possible because of them and all of our subscribers. If you want to support the show and be a cool crackerjack yourself, subscribe on our Patreon page. Click the link below this episode or go to Patreon tab on our website, www.peanutspopcornandcrackerjacks.com.
And leave a review on Apple Podcasts or Spotify. And don't hesitate to write, give us suggestions, tell us how you're liking the show. Email jeff.ppcpodcast@gmail.com.
For my closing quote, when a father gives to his son, both laugh. When a son gives to his father, both cry. William Shakespeare.
Toodaloo! At santofilms.com, we offer a diverse range of products, including indie films, movie posters, books, music, and related merchandise. Check out our new This Old Cub apparel and podcast merchandise. Or delve into the pages of Ravens in the Rain, a twisty tale about a woman with a past and a man with no future. Or immerse yourself in the soundtrack from the original motion picture Jake's Corner, featuring 5 original songs by B.J. Thomas and the film score by award-winning songwriter Steve Dorff. Enjoy free shipping on all orders of $40 or more. Use the code PODCAST at checkout. Support small business. Visit www.santofilms.com. And while you're there, click the link for the Ron Santo official website. We've got a retro-inspired Ron Santo fan club shirt, Ron Santo Pizzeria shirts, and signature apparel. Go to www.santofilms.com.